I've uploaded a video about the $70 billion per year pet industry, corporate mind control, and societal engineering. I have talked at length about sociology in that video, especially near the end. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. I talk about different sociological theories regarding mass media, social media, and how these affect our values, our opinions, our choices. Nobody is immune to propaganda, this pet industry propaganda, which some of us recognize and others do not. Propaganda is something that exists everywhere. Nobody is immune to it. And by the way, I also uploaded a video about dogs in commercials. Please check that out as well. I'm going to talk more about dogs in commercials today. Because, even though I have talked about these things over and over, about how we are brainwashed by advertising, it bears repeating. And we should definitely look more closely at this, because I believe this is at the root of this insanity, this train wreck of absolute insanity that thankfully a lot of us can recognize, but most people are absolutely blind to it, and they are under the influence of this propaganda, which is terrifying, because we are like people living in Germany who are able to see the horrors and the evil inherent in this propaganda that is being shoved down our throats. And if anyone spoke out, right, in Nazi Germany about this propaganda, well, what happened to them, right? They were attacked. People accuse me of spreading dog hate propaganda. Well, we're going to look more closely at what propaganda actually is, and we're going to learn that a big part of defending yourself against propaganda involves speaking out and against it, and also suffering the consequences of doing so. Because if somebody speaks out against me and my message, what are the consequences, right? Social acceptance by the majority. Ooh, how horrible for them. Now, some people are more susceptible than others to propaganda. Some are more easily influenced. Why this is the case, I'm still not really sure. I think it has something to do with susceptibility, kind of like some people are more easily hypnotized than others. And that's a whole area of psychology. Like, I don't want to make this video too boring for you all, but, you can look into it. People who are, who study advertising and marketing, they have a variety of tactics they use, a variety of tactics up their sleeves that they trick us with. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. And I don't know what it is exactly. I think in my own case, maybe living abroad for a while had something to do with it, because when you go to another country, or when you have a hobby like mine, which is shortwave radio, and you listen to broadcasts from other countries, you realize that every country has its own sort of worldview and point of view. And, like in your own country, when you're born and raised in a country, you think that what you hear through the media and what your culture feeds you is the only truth there is, that you believe that's reality. But then when you go away, or when you're exposed to a foreign worldview, you realize that, wait a minute, like what I was taught in my country is not the only point of view that exists. And there are many other points of view. And well, what makes mine, in my country, superior or more true than any of these other points of view? So I don't know if it's because like I said, I have this shortwave radio hobby. I've always been interested in other cultures. I've always been drawn to people from foreign places and learning about them. And I've lived abroad. And so maybe that helped me to open my mind to the possibility that this North American view of the world is not the only one or the right one. But I have to tell you all that I used to be brainwashed by this dog cult. When I purchased my home in the country, I remember begging my husband to get a dog, because why? everyone else around us had a dog. All these people living around us owned dogs, and I felt it was something we needed to do. Now, looking back, I understand what happened, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. This whole thing, this whole propaganda. So, what is propaganda? Propaganda is information, especially that of a biased or misleading nature, that is being used to promote a certain idea. Propaganda is very powerful because everyone is susceptible to it. Even I was not immune to dog propaganda. I had a dog for many years. When I was younger, I believed I loved dogs. I had a dog when I was a kid, and for most of my life, I believed dogs were wonderful. So this is interesting. I found this article, and there are many such articles on the internet that you can read. But how to analyze propaganda. Now, this particular article gives the example of Pakistan and the propaganda that portrays Pakistan in a negative light when it comes to Pakistan having nuclear weapons. And but we can just forget about that and apply the same thing to dogs. Now, let's break this down a little bit. So propaganda is a systematic process, and it is possible to analyze how the media has used it in shaping our opinions about dogs. All right, so propaganda can be broken into 10 stages when analyzing it in detail. These stages are: number one, the ideology and purpose of the propaganda campaign. Well, that's easy. In the case of dogs, the purpose is to make people believe dogs are family members, that they are the equivalent of human children, so that people will spend money on them. This is all about money, guys. Number two, the context in which the propaganda occurs. Well, it occurs through media, social media, mass media, to convince us that dogs are babies, family members. Identification of the propagandist, well, that's the pet food industry. Or the pet industry in general, rather. It started with the pet industry, and then it just became your average citizen that was brainwashed by the corporate propaganda and began then to spread the message to their family and friends. Some would say it's the satanic cult known as Best Friends Animal Society. I made a video about the Pitbull lobby. Some people believe these people are part of a satanic cult that has a vested interest in blood sacrifice. I leave that up to you to judge for yourself. Number four, the structure of the propaganda organization. Well, we can look at veterinarians, rescue organizations, animal shelters, the Humane Society. There's a whole structure there. And number five, the target audience. Well, that's easy. It's the public. Number six, media utilization techniques. Well, there are many, right? There's social media, memes. I'm going to talk a little later about different Instagram accounts that propagate these ridiculously insane memes to brainwash the public. And then there's mass media, commercials, TV shows, videos, movies, books. The list goes on and on and on. Special various techniques. Well, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Audience reaction to various techniques. Well, people, you can just observe the public's reaction to these ads and these commercials. They eat it up. Number nine, counter propaganda if present. Hello, that's me right over here. That's I Hate Dogs. And to a certain extent, there's the National Pitbull Victim Awareness website, as well as dogsbite.org, although those websites are predominantly anti-pitbull and not anti-dog. And lastly, effects and evaluation. Yeah, whatever. I don't know exactly what to say about that, but I'm evaluating this right now for you all. I think I'm the only person in the world at this point who's evaluating it, but I'm hoping to set a precedent. I'm hoping other people will catch on, because this is so obvious to me and many others, but we need people in prominent positions to analyze the effects and to evaluate what's going on here, because this is mass insanity. This is mass hysteria. It's just fucking like crazy. Like I said, it's completely off the rails and people don't see it. Just like people in countries that are heavily, under the influence of like serious propaganda don't realize they are under the influence of that propaganda.
I have the perfect thing for you. We get it. You got it.
Not everyone likes dogs, and that's okay. But we are being conditioned to believe that if you don't like dogs or you complain about having a slobbering dog jump all over you, that you are somehow a heartless, horrible human being. That is not the case. This lady probably would have reacted negatively and broken up with the guy if he didn't like her dog and said that he didn't appreciate it jumping all over him. That's insane, because if you really love someone, you will respect their feelings and, the fact that they might not like the same animal you do. Would you dump someone because they don't like snakes? Insane. So what most people do, people who are busy working, tending to everyday chores, they don't stop to think things through. They look at what others are doing to form their opinions. They look at the actions of others, and if most people are doing a certain thing, then they will deem that thing to be the correct thing to do or the correct thing to believe. Most people are just lazy and they don't think things through, and they talk about this in the article. And that's basically how I believe this whole dog cult started. I think it started with corporations, pet food, pet product companies releasing advertising and commercials and books and so forth to convince people that dogs are family members so that they would go out and purchase these products. So it was a money-making scheme. But then it caught on and people, started to spread these messages to their neighbors, to their friends. And it just caught on like a wildfire. And then, it started to become transferred through social media and not just mass media. Now, this is really interesting here. When propaganda is being spread, those who oppose the message are seen as barbaric enemies. And you have seen evidence in my previous videos of people who have wished me dead. They want me to be tortured in the most horrific ways. They hate me with a passion. I am the worst. I'm worse than Hitler, they say. Why? Because they have been programmed to believe that I'm this barbaric enemy. They accuse me of wanting to kill all dogs. And by the way, I just want to talk about this briefly. That I'm on this campaign to kill all dogs. I have never said that we should go around killing people's pets. You see, but they fabricate this idea. They make me into this monster that wants everyone's dog to be killed systematically. That's not what I said. I said that my mission is to raise awareness, to have public opinion of dogs change through the raising of awareness. Once people see that they are under the influence of propaganda, they will be able to see dogs for what they are. And once they see dogs for what they are, they won't even want to have dogs. So my campaign is a campaign of raising awareness. And once public opinion changes and once the majority of people realize that they have been under a spell, once that spell is broken, they see dogs for what they are, they won't want dogs anymore. They're going to demand the laws change. And then once the laws change, that's when you're going to see less dogs in society. No one's going to go around killing your pets, okay? People are going to start passing laws because they're going to want those laws to be passed. They're going to say, hang on, you know what? It isn't about how the dog is raised, because we have a plethora of evidence right here that shows us that it has nothing to do with the way the dog is raised. And those people that are going on and on about how it's all in how you raise them have absolutely zero evidence to support that ridiculous claim. They're going to realize this is true, what I'm saying, and they're going to say, hang on, okay, we want to ban on pit bulls. Next, they're going to look at the effects of barking. They're going to realize, holy shit, people's health is being destroyed because of this barking business. And yeah, introverts are more affected by the sound than extroverts. And hang on a second, there are a lot of introverts in society. Society is set up to cater to extroverts, but maybe out of a sense of humanitarianism, we should give a shit for those introverts who are being tortured by this noise, and maybe take their rights to not be driven to the point of suicide into consideration and ban dogs. As public awareness raises and consciousness raises, people will not want dogs in our society. Laws will be passed, dogs will be banned gradually over time. This is not going to happen in my lifetime. It's going to happen very slowly. I've said this over and over. And then once those laws are in place, dogs are banned, then any remaining wild dogs that venture in our communities, they're going to be seen in the same light as wolves or cougars or any other dangerous predators, because dogs are dangerous predators. Just look at what's happening in India. Anyway, I'm going way off track here.
There are no bad dogs, only bored dogs. Let's end doggy boredom with new long-lasting Milk-Bone Wonder Bones.
So the point is, I'm the barbarian, and I'm evil, because that's the way the propaganda works. I'm the enemy, and yes, I have said that that dog owners drive me crazy, and I have a very negative opinion of dog worshippers, but that is because they have driven me crazy. In my personal life, I have to make a video about what led me to become a dog hater, because I wasn't always a dog hater. I was once a dog lover, worshiper myself, and I had a dog. But what led me to this point, I'm going to talk about that in my next video. They drove me to this. I would not have an issue with dog owners if they didn't make my life miserable and the lives of other people miserable as well. In contrast, why should they hate us dog haters? We are not harming anyone. We just want to leave dogs alone. We want dogs to leave us alone. We're not telling anyone they need to go out and kill dogs. We're not killing dogs. We're not harming dogs. We're just trying to stay the hell away from dogs. And still they hate us and they think we are monsters. Why? We're not doing any harm. What gives? There's no logic here. These people are irrational. So yeah, the enemy is a barbarian, and they talk about authority as well. Now, I think this has a lot to do with why some people are more susceptible to propaganda than other people. From a very young age, I have always challenged authority. I have never bowed to authority. I have always viewed authority with suspicion and with a negative attitude, actually, because I understood from a young age that people in authority are not always honest. They're not always respectful. They often are liars, and they are cheaters, and they are ruthless and mean. And I understood that, it's not about what a person does. Like they say, it's not who you know, it's who you blow, like through sexual favors, or you can buy your diploma in some countries. It's like, just because you have certain letters after your name, or a title, or a certificate, or a diploma, I'm not going to show you any more respect than I would anyone else, because schooling is not the same as education. I've talked about that before. So I've always had issues with authority, and I know that there are many other people like me who do not automatically listen to what someone in authority has to say and take that as the truth. There are people who are naturally they are critical thinkers, and when they are told something, even if it's a person in authority telling them something, they will question it. They will think for themselves, does this make sense? Let me do my own research. Let me talk to other people first before I make up my own mind. That's me. I'm like that. Then there are other people who I think are very insecure with themselves and who are incapable of thinking for themselves, or they find it too scary to rely on themselves to come to an opinion of their own, or a conclusion when it comes to something. So they depend on authority figures to do the thinking for them. And that represents the majority of people, I believe. So those types of people who depend on authority to tell them, the way things are and what to think and what values to hold and so on, they look upon people like myself with extreme distrust, fear, and hatred, even, because they just hate what I stand for. And that's a very interesting part of psychology as well. Another thing they talk about in this article, which is very interesting and that we should keep in mind, is this commitment to consistency. Now, this is when people are told that dogs are wonderful all of their lives. All of their loved ones have told them dogs are wonderful ever since they were a little kid. Their parents, their teachers, their friends' parents, the commercials, everything they've ever heard all their life, they've been told dogs are wonderful. So when someone comes along with some evidence that shows that dogs are not wonderful, they will reject that out of this commitment to consistency. And they will just overlook all of these evils, these ridiculous horrors, and just miraculously ignore them, or minimize them, or deny them. And they do this because of this commitment to consistency. They cannot admit that they were wrong, that their authority figures are wrong, that their family was wrong, that their friends are wrong. That is just too much for them. That psychologically they just cannot bear to do that. And that is why it is so important for us dog haters to let our voices be heard. Now, I understand that making a YouTube channel, an anti-dog channel on YouTube, is not for everyone. But there are different ways you can speak up and let your opinions be known and share facts and information about dogs. Share news stories, that portray dogs in a realistic light rather than, these deceptive dog worshipping stories you find all over the place. We, in letting our voices be heard by others, we are actually giving people more of a sense of courage, I guess, power to question the message that they are bombarded with, that dogs are wonderful. If they have more voices speaking against dogs, then it's going to be easier for them to question what they've been told by authority and by the media and so forth. And that's what I'm really hoping that more and more of you will do.
That's gross, but it happens. Call Stanley Steamer and get back to cleaning. Stanley Steamer gets your home clean.
So how do we defend ourselves against propaganda? Well, basically, it just comes down to recognizing the tactics that are being used. And that's why I made this video, hoping that you guys will now be able to recognize these tactics when it comes to pet industry propaganda. Basically, they fall prey to propaganda because they have grown weary. People don't have time to sort through all the information that's presented to them. So they just rely on others to form their own opinions. Slogans, look out for slogans. And that's another thing. Dog worshippers have so many slogans. Man's best friend, Chihuahuas bite more, dogs are better than humans. Please leave more in the comments. I can't think of them right now. Recently, someone was talking about bumper stickers. Life is better with a Cocker Spaniel. Blah, blah, blah. They have all these little slogans. My dog will only lick you to death, and so forth. Dog haters, do we have slogans? Like, I don't know, I say the future is dog free at the end of all my videos as a message of hope for the future, but I wouldn't call that a slogan, and anyway, these dog worshippers have had their slogans in place long before I came along as a counter force against this propaganda machine. So, look out for slogans and just be aware of these tactics that I talked about, and do your own reading into this subject of propaganda and advertising. Now, that's another thing I want to talk about right now is advertising. As I said, advertisers have a variety of tricks up their sleeves which they employ to affect people, even without these people knowing they are being affected. You can read a lot about, I could talk about this for ages, but I feel like this video is just going to go on forever. There's something called affective conditioning. Now, the idea behind affective conditioning is the advertiser will present their product alongside or with something that they believe the public will have a very positive response to, something that will elicit very positive feelings in the viewer, so that the viewer will then associate the product with those positive feelings. So, a field of flowers, oh, that looks fresh. and beautiful. So the product being displayed in the field of flowers or whatever, they're going to associate the product with those nice feelings they get from the field of flowers. Now, I know that dog worshippers have brought this up when I mentioned the use of dogs in ads as a way to brainwash us into believing that they're wonderful and that they're family members. They believe that dogs are placed in ads just to make us associate the product with good feelings because most people love dogs. Therefore, they're going to want to buy a Subaru because they see a dog in the Subaru ad and that gives them warm, fuzzy feelings and they think Subaru is a great company. So they're going to choose Subaru. Now, that is perhaps true. But what they're neglecting to acknowledge is the reality of product placement. That is another advertising tactic where a product will be inserted into an ad subtly and attention will not be brought to it. Not only an ad, but in a TV show or a movie or something, you might see somebody holding a can of Coca-Cola, but they're not focusing on the Coca-Cola. They're not even mentioning it, but it's there. And so the viewer will notice it, either consciously or subconsciously. And so product placement is very tricky. But they employ that tactic. And that is what they're doing with dogs. They are inserting dogs into ads that have nothing whatsoever to do with dogs. And it's not to generate fuzzy, warm feelings for the product that they are trying to sell in their ads, but it is to make people believe that a dog is something great to own and that they should own one, that if they do not choose to purchase a dog, that they are a bad person without any empathy. Look at this, for example. Stand in line at any grocery store and you will see that about a third of the magazines will have a dog on the cover, some bullshit pro-dog claim, false, dangerous, morally irresponsible claim, such as this one. My friend talked to me about a magazine she saw in a grocery store by the cash that claimed having a dog for your kids will result in them being more compassionate, empathetic. When you look at the science, virtually all differences between pet owning and non-pet owning kids disappeared when factors such as race, home ownership, parental health, and wealth were taken into account. And that's only when it comes to things like ADD and ADHD. How can you even accurately measure things like empathy or compassion? And is it even ethical to do so with children? I mean, this is not a legitimate, reliable scientific study, yet it's being portrayed as such, which is deceptive. Exact same thing you see with all of these bogus studies that claim dogs are great for lowering blood pressure, have all these positive health effects. They do not. The science is very sketchy. I have made videos about this. It infuriates me because not only are the claims untrue, they're convincing people to go out and buy a dog. And these, you have to bear in mind, think of how dumb the average person is and realize half of them are dumber than that. And even intelligent people are too busy oftentimes to go do their own research and to look into these studies and to find out the truth and to realize that these people are lying. Why are they lying? Because they want your money. They don't care about you or your kids, your health, your well-being, your safety, nothing. They don't care. They want your money. So people are going out, they're rushing out, they're getting dogs, believing they're doing the right thing for their children. What's happening? The children are not growing up to be more empathetic and compassionate. They're growing up to have their faces ripped off at the rate of 77 per day in America alone, as I have discussed in previous videos. Having a dog in the home with a child is child endangerment. I have demonstrated this clearly in my videos, yet people deny it, viciously attack me for presenting indisputable facts. And it's infuriating. But anyway, let's look at a few ads.
So tell us, guys, how can we make hockey more fun? Did somebody say puppies? My parents gonna be a ripper.
Local Tim Hortons owners help over 100,000 kids play hockey every year. Let's keep it fun.
If you love me enough to tolerate my perfect little pets in all their glorious grandeur, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
So what this ad is saying basically is that if you love your child enough to put up with the disgusting sounds and behaviors and the filth of having an animal in your house, and get very, very sick from allergies. I mean, just look at this guy. He's so sick. Then you should also look into what is the best car seat for her. How dare they insinuate that you are not a loving parent if you do not put up with the filth and the risk of having an unpredictable predator in your house, as well as debilitating allergies. You know, allergies can be life-threatening. They're not only debilitating. If you have severe asthma, you can die. But if you really, truly love your child, you'll put up with this? Madness! If you truly love your child, you'll put up with the risk of acquiring capnocytophaga, which can be transmitted by just a lick from a dog. You'll run the risk of losing all of your limbs, your nose, dying from sepsis. You'll put up with the risk of acquiring a parasitic infection and going blind. Come on. How dare they imply that that makes you an unloving parent? This is just absolutely infuriating. How do they get away with this garbage? And what do dogs have to do with car seats, for crying out loud?
We're gonna try something different today.
God help the person who brings a dog into my hospital room. There'll be hell to pay. But what this commercial does is put forth the erroneous idea that every child is going to be delighted by seeing a dog, is going to be happy, is going to be comforted by the presence of a dog. This is not the case. A lot of kids are uncomfortable around dogs. A lot of kids are afraid of dogs because their friends, their family members have been bitten by dogs in unprovoked attacks. This is putting out a false message that it is a good idea to bring a filthy dog into a hospital. It isn't. Dogs transmit a variety of bacterial diseases, viral diseases, parasitic diseases. They lick their assholes, then lick all over their bodies. They're disgusting. They eat shit and slurp vomit. What business do they have in a fucking hospital that is supposed to be a sterile environment where people with compromised immune systems go? What the fuck are people doing bringing dogs into these places and putting forward the idea that this is a good idea? This is madness.
In a vast desert, completely devoid of basset hounds. Then, it appeared, a beacon of hope. I'm back in baby's arms. More glorious than a billion sunsets. We were found. Found by the hounds. Back in baby's arms.
For Barcelona?
We did promise we'd go.
Take that trip. Take it. Dig it the miles. We get a pet sitter. Whoa! Music to my ears.
Use the card that gets you miles closer to your promise.
We should do this every year.
They should do this every year.
Start something priceless.
What do dogs have to do with American Airlines or MasterCard? What really pisses me off about this ad is the way they humanize the dogs and make it like the dogs are talking. This is giving people the idea that dogs are human-like, which they are not at all, that they are worth massaging. Like, would you massage a sewer rat? These shit-eating, vomit-slurping beasts are no better than rats. They're just overgrown rats. Why pamper them? They are disgusting shit-eaters. They don't care. They lack the capacity to love. Why are we loving them? It's so crazy. Absolutely insane.
Let's put a lot of our focus on this dog and give him the best last time of his life.
A bucket list for a furry friend. Who's behind the special adventures he's enjoying in his golden years?
I really want
wanted another dog.
He was worried about the money.
Yes.
With Chewy, we saved money on food and toys.
So finally, I broke down.
And we were able to rescue Max. Save 30% on your first order today at Chewy.com. At Chewy.com.
After having my youngest, shopping for our animals was complete chaos. Thanks to Chewy.com, I can get their treats, their prescriptions, all in one place. I don't have to go to the store or lug heavy bags of food. Shopping is easy.
We love Chewy.com because it was so easy as a new puppy parent to get everything we needed for the first time.
We got toys, we got food, we got playpen, and it was delivered directly to our door. It was amazing.
Get fast free shipping today at Chewy.com or Pet Lover Shop.
PetSmart.ca has everything for all your pets, now delivered right to your door. Plus, get fast, free shipping and earn treats points on every purchase. Shop PetSmart.ca today. We're PetSmart.
In his lifetime, he'll pull hundreds of tons. That's why he needs a tailored recipe from Iams to help him stay fit. Iams who I am.
This dog is an intact male, which means it has not been castrated. It's not been neutered. It still has its balls. What is going on here? We're supposed to be encouraging people to neuter their dogs because we know it's a fact that doing so will reduce the dog's chance of being aggressive. It will reduce its likelihood to roam and cause problems in the community, such as attacking people. So why are we putting it out there on TV that it is a good thing to have a dog with heavy swinging full balls, right? This is madness. I'm going to stop here. I feel like I could go on and on providing you with examples of dogs in ads. This propaganda that we are constantly bombarded with from all sides, all day long, it is constantly being shoved down our throats, and people are not aware that they are under the influence of this mass mind control, this propaganda that to other cultures far away is very apparent, but actually it's becoming less so because now with the advent of the internet, people are spreading this propaganda globally through the internet. So it is affecting other cultures that were previously immune to it or where it didn't exist. It is now becoming more common and people are changing their attitudes because they are under the influence of this propaganda, which is now, like I said, a global thing. If you're on Instagram, check out Doggo Memes 69. This is the ultimate in dog nuttery. You will find picture after picture after picture of dogs depicted as humans, showing expressions that they claim to be human-like. Dogs are not even capable of expressing themselves that way. And people are dressing them up in costumes and so forth and just pretending that they are humans. And this is insane to anyone outside of this dog cult. This looks like absolute insanity. Like the people doing this need to be locked up because they are so unstable. And this is so crazy. Just go have a look for yourself. But hopefully by spreading awareness, raising awareness, sharing this video, people will become more aware of the ways in which they are being tricked by advertisers and by social media into forming opinions which are very damaging, not only to themselves, but to their families, especially their children, and to society as a whole, to the future of our civilization. Also, these attitudes are very damaging to dogs themselves. If you truly love dogs, you would not get a dog. I've explained this many times, that bringing a dog into our homes while we are being led to believe that that is a loving thing to do, it is the opposite. Dogs are pack animals that crave the companionship of their own kind. They want to be in a pack of dogs and they want to roam and engage in their natural canine behaviors. They are not able to do that when we impose the sort of unnatural lifestyle upon them that we do. They go crazy when we leave them alone all day. And what happens then? We have to go medicate them. I made a video about this recently, and it's a huge moneymaker. Dogs are not happy living the life that we are forcing them to live in our world. They don't belong in our world. I Hate Dogs made a video called Dog Love is Destructive, and it truly is. And we need to work hard at raising awareness so that this will be exposed and that people can be more immune to the effects of propaganda. I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. The future is dog-free.